Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the mop here on a Tuesday morning. Yes, it's a good day. Sun is out, clear skies, and only going to be in the high of 70s. So it's awesome. So welcome to the mop, titled, I Love People Who Have Their Heels Dug In. There's a way to love them multiple ways. I mean, it's awesome that they are dug in. Kind of reminds me of the anchor person on a tug-of-war team. They wrap the rope around them, they dig in, wrap their hands around, and usually the biggest boy on the team, usually. I was on a tug-of-war team once. Yeah, we had a good time. Didn't lose any of our matches. And then we got our butts kicked once, I think, if I remember right. I don't know, that was a lot of Long Island teas that day. There was a lot of us fellas on that one at Garrison Playdays. Long time ago, when I was younger, and probably, well, intelligent level, it may be the same. Maturity level, probably the same. But, you know, some things don't change. Your body just ages. Could be why my knees hurt and do things like that because of the stupid crap I used to do. But Garrison Playdays was always a good time. But let's go on to the reason I love people that have their heels buried and dug in deep, and all they're doing is digging in further and further. You know, once you get your heels dug in, and you're really adamant about something, you lose focus on some of the things that are brought up, because you don't want to pay attention to what's really going on. I was at a meeting last night, and yep, it's about the cats in Richland Center. And if you know me, you might not know this about me. I'm allergic to cats. But they still have a right to be treated well, maintained, taken care of, place to go if there's... But there's also a time and point that you have to need to step back and maybe look at what you're talking about. See, everybody wants to say, well, what experience do you have with cats? Well, most of the time, I owned a cat. Yep. Actually, she's probably saved my life the day I had my stroke 9 years ago, because she put her tail under my nose and had me sneeze, and then I reached for a Kleenex, and that's when I noticed the arm was acting funny and things like that. So I owe part of this, of my good recovery and everything, to a cat. Now, let's talk about people that are dug in, and they can say what they want, but they are very dug in. Last night's meeting was very interesting. I went, it's to they're called FOOF now, felines, or Friends of Okootch Mountain Humane Society Felines, or something like FOOF. And they're upset with the current board member at Okootch Mountain Humane Society currently. And they've had a change in leadership. And there's multiple reasons for that, but people don't want to look at that. They're trying to witch hunt the current board members. And they're trying to take them to the gallows and outrun or overrun them and overpower them, kind of like a coup. And I've been involved in some discussions with these folks. One thing that I keep bringing up is that I don't care what you call it. I don't care if it's a nonprofit. I don't care what it may be, but it has to be somewhat run like a business. And they're like, that's where you're mistaken. You can't run it as a business because they're cats. Well, you can run it like a business. You can have only so much, and this is, my terminology they don't like. You can only have so much inventory, okay? Or if you want to change out the word inventory to cats, okay? You can only have so many in one building. But when you tell them that you need, and then they really don't like when you say, well, if you only adopt out 14, you really don't have room to restock 30 or 40. You can't just keep bringing cats. Okay? So, and like I said, every cat deserves to live out their life in the best way possible. Some of these cats, I get it, in hoarding situations, probably are not in good shape. But if you already have 150 or 200 cats, you can't bring in another 100 like they want to do, or whatever. That's their whole thing was, well, we shouldn't be saying no. Well, you have to say no at some point. There's some point you have to. Well, we'll have cats running everywhere. And then they brought up a point last night that there's way more cats that are dead along the side of the road today than there were back in June. I think I've seen one a long, long time now. And I live near one of the biggest dairies, so I'm guessing there's probably a lot of barn cats around. See, there's not a lot of barn cats anymore like you used to have when you had the small dairies. See, that's the other thing you got to remember, is we don't have as many barns and farms for these cats to go to. And a lot of the farmers, yeah, and then we're not. They mentioned something about trapping and neutering, and that this current board's not doing. This current board, from what I can tell, took over a situation. And I saw a post in October that the Humane Society had 225 cats in October. Well, when the current manager got let go in June, there were still over 200 cats in a building. And I got told that, I don't know, because I got told this. I don't know anything about cats because I don't spend time around them, and I don't know their stress levels, and so I should just stay out of it. I do know the fact that if you take 200 cats into a building, and you bring any more cats in, say you're even down to 175 cats, and you bring in 75 from a hoarding situation, and you have 5 rooms, I think. See, I don't know the layouts because I can't go in there. I would probably die. I'm very allergic. So I can play with them out at the window while I mow the grass up there and weed eat and do those kind of things. That's my volunteer work for the shelter. I take care of the yard. Due to the fact that I'm highly allergic. But because I'm highly allergic and I can't tell stressful situations with animals. But common sense is my specialty. Yeah. So, and I've ran a lot of big businesses before, and they, again, said that you can't, we don't want to talk to you anymore because you're saying it's a business. Okay, don't talk to me. I talked to a lady last night. I said, hey, you and I have interacted on Facebook. We've messaged. Nice to meet you. Put a voice with the picture. And, yep, everything was okay. So I talked to another guy that used to be the president of the Humane Society. And he's like, Chris, you have to run it like a business. It needs to be ran that way. Because you only have a certain amount of dollars, and you only have a certain amount of things that you can do. You can't just keep bringing cats in and taking care of them and doing that. That goes with anything. I don't care, dogs, whatever. Dane County's running out of room. Sauk County's running out of room. Look at what other nations are doing for pets. We went to Switzerland. It was amazing to see what they do for pets. If you had to go through the process that people do in Switzerland to get a pet, you probably wouldn't just get one. But as we've heard the story numerous times before, for Christmas and holidays, people get puppies and everything else for their kids because, oh gosh, that's a great gift and everything else. But then the work becomes too much. And shortly thereafter, they're dropping them off at shelters. Which there's also something I'm learning. See, this is kind of experience for me. I'm learning things as well, such as there is a huge difference between shelters and rescues, which a lot of people last night were interacting the names of rescue and shelter. It's very interesting stuff. I'm ecstatic about learning this stuff. It's very cool. But you can only take in so much inventory. See, back to this business stuff again. You can only take in so much inventory and be able to handle it and be able to take care of it to the best, no matter the situation. I'm sorry that at some point you may have to say, we really can't. And especially if you're trying to be a no-kill shelter or a rescue, whatever it may be. So throw the word no-kill in there. So now no matter the condition of the cats or anything else, nope, can't get rid of them. So we're taking all the sick ones. And what if a vet told you that some of these are never going to get healthy? That you are just going to continue to spend money upon money to just let them live. Are they still living their best lives because you brought them to a no-kill place? That now see, that's where I struggle. As pet owners, which I've had dogs all my life, and like I said, I did have a cat when I first met my wife because she had a cat, but it was nonstop cleaning and taking care of everything because of my allergies to the cat. So, at what point, and by the way, also no-kill shelters, no-kill places, still kill. See, the no-kill, they try not to. That's really what it should be labeled as. Try not to kill shelters. Or last option, last resort, whatever it may be. You still may have to euthanize a cat for its pet's life. I know that's awkward for people. They don't like the thought. Nobody likes the thought. Nobody wants to put their best animal down they've ever had. I never wanted to let any of my dogs go. But at some point, for their health-wise and for their peace and their enjoy of things, they need to be let go. So you do it as humanely as possible. You don't go, so I get it. I get and there's a lot of energy in that building last night. A lot of upset people. I get it. When we're talking about animals. Get it. It'd have been easier to talking about people with Alzheimer's and terminal diseases and bad diseases, because I think they would probably agree that people should be allowed to euthanize themselves if they are diagnosed with these terrible things. I still advocate for that too, that if you're in the right mind, you should be able to sign a paper that says, if I get diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and then when you start seeing that I forget things, just tell me to take my meds, I'll lay down, or put it in an IV, and let me go to sleep. I think that would be fair for me. Currently, in my right mind, I would tell you that I would peacefully take a shot in the arm and I go to sleep. That would be awesome. Because I don't want to go through what my mom did. And she didn't want to go through it either. Nobody wants to see your parent go through those things, and so nobody wants to see animals suffer. But I think if you're taking cats from a hoarding situation, and then you're bringing them out to an overpopulated place, the stress level is the same. They don't know. And yeah, I've heard it could take months and months to rehabilitate hoarded cats. Yep, understood. They've been in a bad situation. See, I worked at a grocery store. What other people don't realize is that 15 years old, 16 years old, and 17-year-old, a bunch of us worked at a grocery store, and on the corner of the parking lot was a home, and we would throw out the trash at night at the grocery store, and there would be 30 to 40 cats in our dumpsters, and they would all jump out at you. So then we had to start putting bricks on the dumpsters. And I don't know where they found the powerlifting cats at, but the powerlifting cats could lift the door up, and then a bunch of cats would dive in and eat all the chicken scraps and all that stuff, and then they'd go back out. But they'd scare the shit out of all of us young guys, because you'd lift the cat. You never know how many would jump out at one point. Well, at that point, that house had, I think the number at the time, between all the carcasses and the 3 foot of crap in the basement or up to your knees kind of thing, they ended up torching the facility, but they got the cats out first, not with cats in it. There were 300, I think the number, if I could remember right in Aiken. Might have been more, 400, but a lot of them were conjoined. A lot of them were inbred cats. And nobody wanted to see that situation, even me. Nobody wants to see that. So I get it. But at some point, you have to say, we have no more room right now. You can't just say, well, we'll take more and more. And if funding gets low, we're just going to raise more money to take more cats. That doesn't work that way. It gets so frustrating. So when you're trying to talk nice, and then people all of a sudden grab that rope, one extra turn on their hand, and they move their feet, you know the people. They move their feet and they dig in a little further, and they dig in a little further. Pretty soon they're leaning way back, and they got their butt barely touching the sand in a tug-of-war game. You know, that's how you win tug-of-war. But that's how you lose things like this. And the word transparency, if I hear that word anymore, whether it's our government or whether it's, nobody wants transparency, because if they did, the people on both sides, the people that are saying we need transparency from this, we need transparency, would be transparent as well. See, there's a police report that people should look into back in June that I've known about. And that's public record, so you can go look for it, and you can ask for it. I don't think the people that want transparency want people to know about that either. And then they keep coming up with hearsay items because they say, well, the new board's not being transparent. Well, and we're really worried the most about the cats. We don't care about anything that happened with the past man, anything else. All we're worried about is the cats. But yet when things come out about the cats, they're like, that's BS, and what about these cats? And then and then people get and they don't want to listen. They don't want to open up their ears. Then they go back to, well, I hear they aren't taking any more cats. They're not doing this. They've 88 cats now. They are only going to take 88 cats. Yeah, because if something catastrophic happens where you have to take 100 cats, like they did out of Muscadet, if you're down to 80 and you're rotating your inventory, see, back to that again. People aren't going to like me saying that. But if you are rotating, when a good day, when they were saying, oh, one good month, that one good time, we did 12 or 14 cats. And I said, yeah, I got in trouble for that too. This was a while back now. I got in trouble with saying, well, if you're adopting out 14 cats in a month or a week, 14 in a week, and you have 200, you still have 20 weeks of inventory? See, that's my brain. It's been for 15 years. That's what I was always worried about. Is I have this much inventory and I got to rotate out this much inventory. Otherwise, I can't bring more inventory in, which makes customers mad. But then are you limiting who can adopt? And, oh yeah, I got told that too. Well, some people didn't qualify to adopt. I don't know what it takes to not qualify. Well, I probably wouldn't because I'm allergic to cats. And maybe, I don't know. I'm just lost. And you can't explain it in over the group chat or whatever it is on Facebook, because then you got 37 people all over you about, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. We are experienced with cats. We have, we've done this. We've been around. We know stress. We know this. Oh, trust me. Our cat, try to put her in a carrier. Yeah, you'd end up having to go get a blood transfusion by the time you got her in her carrier to take her to the vet. So usually it involved doing a shot through the panel of the door to get her up to date and things like that. So I get stressed. But I also would get that if you took a handicap-sized porta toilet and you put 4 people in there and it's meant for 2 and you let them in there for a while, would be different than probably if you took somebody that didn't have shelter at all and you allowed them to, set up shop in a porta toilet that size where they could kind of lay down or whatever, and they're out of the rain, they would probably enjoy that. But there's going to be times where you have cats that just, a gentleman passed away or whatever, they may not. People that get into close spaces, when I get in close spaces, not good for me. Not good at all. I don't like, it's hard to say, but a lot of people I don't like. I don't like people sometimes because they just don't listen. They don't want to listen. They want you to say, oh, I totally agree. And I understand. And yeah, get the gallows. Let's get the gallows out. So it's always interesting. But that was my night last night. I want to thank everybody that listens to me every morning and goes on about my project. Yesterday's topic was pretty tough. With the young suicides and things like that. I've got other things coming up tomorrow. But I thought the cat thing was interesting. And like I said, I am not a big player in this. I'm just trying to do what's right, through what's best, and try to talk people through things. But you're not going to talk them as long as they are knee-deep dug in, wrapped with a rope around their waist, waiting to pull. It was just an interesting meeting when I finally saw the actual people involved. So, have a great day. Take time to enjoy the sunshine today. Wake up optimistic every day that something good is going to happen. And we will talk soon. I'll be back tomorrow morning with another edition of The Mop.